you to one of my favorite libraries I've ever been to. This is the stunningly gorgeous Lawrence Library in Pepperell, Massachusetts. Aside from the architecture, the one thing that really had me excited was the greeting from the staff. Every person was so kind, warm, and welcoming, including the library director, Deb. It was so much fun that I spent over 2 hours at this library just walking around and chatting with all of the staff members. Also, look at this library of things. Like, this is so cute. And that was a life-size cutout. I mean, how much more fun can you get? And these little tiny canvases were adorable. And also, my millennial heart exploded a little bit whenever I was able to find Metamorphosis by Hilary Duff and Black Sabbath both like right next to me on the media shelf, so that was a pretty cool moment. But if you're a big fan of architecture, this is the building for you. The Lawrence Library is absolutely stunning, and I know I keep saying stunning, but I don't know what other word you can use other than stunning. The amount of detail and everything in this library is just truly incredible. And aside from the architecture and the staff, the other favorite thing that I loved about this library is the variety of events. For the size of the town, this library holds some pretty amazing events, including music, art galleries, and open mic nights. And here's the art gallery space, which also hosts the open mic night, and it's truly, again, another stunning area. And on top of that, they also offer meditation, qigong, and so many more activities. In talking with the library director, I was truly floored by all that they do offer the community. It's a huge undertaking to offer that amount of variety, and Lawrence Library and the staff has done an amazing job. One of the other things that I really enjoyed about this library is that there were so many things that were unique just to this library. So for instance, this Lyceum space is where people go to read periodicals and magazines, but they also have this adorable K-Cup machine, and you can make yourself coffee for 75 cents to sit down and read your magazines. But Deb also told me about their biggest draw, which is their dead bird collection. Yes, you heard that right, dead birds. At lawrencelibrary.org, it's explained that the library has been home to Sidney Shattuck's personal collection of over 100 local birds, all carefully mounted and labeled, and they are on permanent display in the Lyceum, which is a big draw for people who love birds and taxidermy. Moving on to the upstairs, Deb was telling me that they hired a local artist to paint a mural on one of their walls, which I thought was adorable because they did historic Pepperell, and there was this little buggy that says, "We go anywhere duty calls," and I thought it was just great. And heading up to the landing, there's definitely some historical artifacts and some photos and historical information, but then you open this door and you go into this back in time room where there's just a ton of historical artifacts. And what I learned that I thought was the second floor is actually the 4th floor, but regardless, it's the top floor of the building. But yeah, they actually consider it the 4th floor. They consider what I would consider the main floor the 3rd floor, because they also have another floor and a basement. Anyway, ignore my tangent. The top floor is really cool because they house all of their historical artifacts here, and it's just like a really small reference/history/reading space that also has this really cool historical component. Like, pause to read that. Amazing. Also, I thought this The Missing Bell story was really cool and really unique because, of course, it's Pepperell's history. And this is the view down into the area that we were at prior on the 3rd floor from the 4th floor, which I thought, again, was just beautiful. And then finally, here we are in the children's area, which is downstairs. I loved the children's area and the children's librarian. She was an absolute delight. I couldn't get her or Deb on camera, and I hope to go back to be able to get one of them on camera. But it was absolutely a pleasure to just be in this children's space because mainly it was just a fun area, even for an adult. Everywhere you looked or went, there was definitely something engaging. But my favorite thing was taught to me by the children's librarian, and it is about Miss Rumphius, the children's book. Miss Rumphius was written by children's book author Barbara Cooney, who lived in Pepperell with her husband for several decades. And even though she wrote lots of children's books, Miss Rumphius was ultimately her most popular book, and look at the picture there. What do you see? That is actually the Lawrence Library and Miss Rumphius. So Barbara's daughter has actually gone on record saying that Miss Rumphius was an autobiographical book and that she wanted to pay a little bit of an homage to Pepperell, so she incorporated that illustration of the Pepperell Library in her book, Miss Rumphius. Miss Rumphius also went on to win the National Book Award in 1983, and the Lawrence Library was designated a literary landmark in 2018 in honor of Barbara Cooney. What a unique piece of history. Also, I recognize that went on a little bit long, so that other area was a children's area where they hold programming, and I just took some video of some art because there is art all over this library, like all over, and I find it so amazing and endearing. And where there isn't art, there are activities, and where there aren't activities, there are mannequins with stories. And the list goes on and on. Ultimately, this library is full of history, activities, kindness, and surprises at every turn. So if you're ever in Massachusetts, I would highly recommend stopping by the Lawrence Library. I know that I'll definitely be back.